What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great day or night whenever you're watching this. It's a beautiful Tuesday. I'm having a great day. Playoffs are coming up in like 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 days, whatever it is for the NFL, and I'm super, super excited for it. I want to talk about a team that scratched and clawed their way all the way into it and honestly deserves a lot of praise and a lot of respect for the fact that they're even there at this point. And before I tell you which team that is, probably be able to tell in the thumbnail or the title. But if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video. But with that being said, I want to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders because I really think that what happened to them and how they handled it and the season they had, not to say, it's not like Super Bowl special or anything like that, but it was a special season for them to be where they're at, a playoff team with all the drama and everything that happened. I think it's honestly super remarkable. And I'm a Chargers fan, so it's like I have no bias. I don't really buy into the whole rivalry thing anymore because I have a lot of respect for what they pulled off. Because you think about it with the John Gruden incident, losing your head coach like 4 or 5 games into the season, whatever it was, and then Henry Ruggs decides he wants to go 156 miles an hour and ruin his life. Like all that drama that just gets compounded and compounded, like for a team to not just bottom out is really, really remarkable. And I think they deserve a lot of respect for that. And I think people are like, oh, they don't belong, blah, 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 blah. And they might not be like the best team in the playoffs or anything, but it's not like they were just some bums that just like beat nothing but crappy teams and then like scratched in the playoffs. That wasn't really what it is. I look back at their wins. Their wins are actually pretty respectable. They had the week 1 game against the Ravens when the Ravens were still pretty somewhat healthy. The Ravens were banged up going into the season, but they still had a lot of their guys compared to what they have now, especially. So winning that game, that was a big game. They beat the Steelers in like week 2, I think. They beat the Dolphins, and we saw how good the Dolphins were doing, especially during the second half of the season. They were on fire. The Broncos twice, that's a division opponent. Those games are always tough when you're playing in the division. And the Broncos don't just roll over for people. So while they're not like a playoff team or like someone you're really thinking as like a legit threat, the Broncos, it's a decent enough win. You got to win those games if you want to be a playoff team, in my opinion. They won both of them. They beat the Eagles. That's a playoff team. Even though they're a wild card, they managed to beat the Eagles. The Eagles figured themselves out towards the second half of the season. They beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That game was incredible. And I think that was remarkable that they went in. I don't know if it was in Dallas or in Las Vegas, but Dallas probably has more talent on their roster, but Las Vegas came out and beat them. It was pretty much that simple. They came out and beat them, and they didn't do it like convincingly, but they pulled it off, which is all, what is Al Davis thing? Just win, baby. That's kind of how they're approaching it. They beat the Browns. At this point in the season, the Browns were pretty much beat up, but they still got to win the game. They did that. They beat the Colts when the Colts were on a tear. People thought the Colts were just a shoe-in for the playoffs, and then they ran into the Raiders and got iced by them. And then we know what happens to the Colts. I don't know if that was, I know they lost to the Jags this week or whatever, but I don't know if the Raider game was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And then they beat the Chargers in the biggest game of the season. And as a Chargers fan, I wasn't even mad at it because I don't think the Chargers deserve to win that game. But I honestly gave a lot of credit to the Raiders for their performance because I thought that they played well enough to win, and they battled their way into the playoffs, and I got a lot of respect for that. And then to just a little bit of informational, the combined records of the opponents that they beat was 87 wins, 82 losses, and 1 tie. Shout out to Steelers. Yeah, so they were, it wasn't like they were just beating like the bottom tier teams in the entire league, So they managed to win some tough games and they're valuable wins, obviously, because it got them in the playoffs. So I think they deserve a lot of credit. And people that I think deserve credit on this team, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch every game or anything like that, but I caught probably 4 or 5 games from, my perspective. And I think the guys that deserve a lot of credit, I got them written here. Hunter Renfrow, fantastic season. Stepped up to be, I don't know if he's a true number 1, but he's at least a really, really good number 2. He's really, really fantastic as a wide receiver. I love watching his route running. Zay Jones, he's been kind of like mediocre his entire career, but he was really, really crucial down the stretch of the season for them. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for stepping up at the time of need. Max Crosby, we know how good he is on the defensive end. He's probably their best defensive player, I would assume. Most people would agree. Relentless pressure. He was fantastic, especially against the Chargers. Dude was just bulldozing through everyone. He was impactful. Casey Hayward, one of the best corners in the league this season, super underrated, especially me being a Chargers fan. I know how good he is. And he was probably better this year than he has been in a couple years. I don't remember what week it was, but they had a safety, and it was like his first allowed catch of the entire season was turned into a safety, which I think is like hilarious. But Casey Hayward, he deserves a ton of credit. Denzel Perryman, he was really, really good this season, especially in the middle of that field where, you need your linebacker to be on his game. I thought Denzel Perryman was very, very solid this season. It showed in his statistics and in his play, especially. And he was really like an anchor for that defense in the middle of the field. And then the last guy, got to give him probably the most credit out of anyone. A lot of Raider fans are very polarized on this guy, and I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out who I'm talking about. But Derek Carr, I think he had not like an MVP special season, but he had a special season when you factor in the context of the circumstances. The fact that basically Waller was done for like almost half the season. I think it was like 5 or 6 games. You got Henry Ruggs doing his thing in Corvettes. So the fact that he was missing his Hunter Renfrow is probably his favorite target, but missing 2 of those weapons really depleted. Like, they didn't have like legit stars as wide receivers. Josh Jacobs is battling injuries all season. The offensive line isn't great, and he managed to keep them together and pull out these wins. And he had so many clutch drives down in the end of games. Literally just saw it happen with the Browns game. Saw it happen with the Chargers game. He's clutch, and I think he deserves a ton of credit for that situation because he really weathered the storm, and I think he brought them together. I personally think he is their quarterback, and he should be. I think I'd like to see. Just a few years ago, he was an MVP candidate, and he got his ankle broken a week before the playoffs when they were really, really talented and probably going to win a game or 2 in there, and possibly who knows what happens from there. Anything can happen. So I think Raiders fans, first of all, I want to know in the comments, where are you guys at on your team? Like, how do you guys feel about your season? But especially, I want to know what you guys' stance on Derek Carr at this point, because I think if you put the weapons and the talent around him, he is a above average quarterback that can get it done. Like, I truly believe that after watching him. The way I come to that is by when you look at the circumstances, if guys can drag like lower level talents and get them into a playoff game, that's special. And I think, not to say everyone was lower level talent, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like they were just superstars all over the place, and he was just, chucking the ball for easy 20-yard completions with dudes standing wide open. It was not easy, but he got it done. And I think that's impressive. His stats for this season, 4,804 yards, almost a 5,000-yard season. 23 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. It's not the greatest ratio, but when you factor in that the weapons aren't necessarily top tier, I think it's impressive. And his QB rating was 93.96. For context, the league average for quarterbacks was 90.8. So he's quite literally above average this season when you factor in his rating and everything like that. And he passes a lot of eye tests, and it's just, every quarterback has bad plays and bad games and stuff. But I think he was really special this season. I think he deserves a lot of love and a lot of credit. And I hope that the fan base can get behind him and just fully accept him, because I know it's like half the fan base loves him, half the fan base hates him, wants him replaced. But I don't, unless like Deshaun Watson is available or something and you can manage to snag him, maybe that's what you would do. But I think it was really impressive. And I love giving the coach, I think it's like Rich Pisaccia or something like that. I don't know if I'm saying his name 100% correctly. Fantastic job across the board. He's a special teams coach for his entire career. He comes in with all this drama, basically gets everybody to be composed and like, look, we're playing with house money at this point. Everybody expects us to fail. And the coach really gets them going. I don't know if he's going to be the guy that they go with long-term, but I think he's definitely earned himself a lot of brownie points. He deserves his flowers, as they say. I was really, really impressed with this whole team, just what they did this season. It's really special. Whether they win a playoff game or not, I don't really care. I just think it would be even more special if they did manage to win a playoff game, because they're going against the Bengals, I believe, and they didn't have a great game against the Bengals last time, and that's a tough team to beat. So I think time will tell with them, but I really like what happened with this team this season. A lot of fun, especially after all the drama happened. It's remarkable. Raider fans, let me know how you feel in the comments. This is the Chargers fans giving you guys praise, and I'm trying to be unbiased and everything. I really like what this team did this year. So yeah, I'm done here. Peace.